Welcome to Angler's Trading Post. I'm Jeff Coffey, and today we're talking about the difference between a fly and a lure. Now, technically, a fly is a lure. Lure is just a term that we use to trick fish. It's the gear that we use to trick fish. But there's a difference when we talk specifically about flies. Here's a perfect example of a fly. This doesn't weigh much. It has some very thin, flowing fibers. These things are made to look like they're breathing and alive in the water. But with a spinning rod, I have a thin line, and I can't really cast this. There's not enough weight in this thing to take my line off of my reel out to where the fish are. So often, when we are using gear, we'll grab something bigger. There's a nice little spinning rig there. This has got some jig heads in it. There's a topwater jig there, something we might crank back, and here's a spinner. Here's a perfect example, right? And so this has weight. This is weighted right here. And this is intentionally put in there so that when we cast that rod, the weight is in the lure that takes a line off of the reel, okay? When we cast a fly, we use a heavy weighted fly line. Matter of fact, we call it a 5-weight or a 6-weight or a 7-weight. Really what that boils down to is the amount of grains and where they're located in the line. And the line provides the ability to cast and place our fly where it needs to go. So if you've got flies, typically you're using a fly rod. Everything else, you would be using a regular spinning line with it, with some exceptions. One of those exceptions is that often a jig can be fished from a fly rod. Now, not really heavy jigs. We're not trying to turn over 1/4 ounce or bigger, but 1/16 of an ounce, 32nd of an ounce, sometimes even up to an 1/8 of an ounce. You can fish this off of larger fly rods. Very effective. We call it indicator jig rig. We call them figs when we're fly fishing, right? It's a little fly, a little bit jig. All right. Now, here's the other thing, is when I am running, this is a great example. Look at that, beautiful pink and flowing. What does this look like to you gear guys, right? It's not much different than a pink silicone worm with a chartreuse tail, except that the difference is when this gets wet, this moves so much more lifelike than a silicone worm will. So all you have to do is put a bullet weight up in the front of this. Pin that bullet weight in, fish it Texas rig, or run that bullet up behind a clip or a swivel, and now you're fishing a Carolina rig. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna just dance in the water a little bit more. Rather than shooting to the bottom there, we're going to just watch this thing just kind of drift down like that, and the fish are just gonna go nuts over it. Whereas a silicone worm doing the same thing, that silicone worm's just gonna blow right down to the bottom. So you can fish flies, we just have to add weight up front to be able to pull that line off. And that's the primary difference, but you should play with it. You should try going both directions, whatever you prefer. If you like picking up a fly rod, try something a little bit different, put something with a spinner on it to get the fish attention. Hope this was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe so that you get all of our future tips and techniques as we go along. Look forward to seeing you next time.